Hi, I'm Holly with HP Love Coach, and today we are going to talk about communicating. That's right, we're going to talk about talking. So let's dig in. Have you ever tried to learn a new language? Most of us have. In school, we were supposed to learn Spanish or French, German or Latin, and it can be really tricky for a lot of people. Immersion programs seem to work really well, not to mention all the fun and excitement that comes with being in a new country and surrounded by a new culture. There are also a lot of other options for learning languages. You could get a CD or a DVD, an online course, a local class. There are a lot of options. If you Google it, there are a ton. So what do we do with that communication that isn't about the words that we use? A lot of our communication is expressed through body language and where we choose to focus our energy. So no words have to be spoken at all. I'm sure you've seen conversations like that at a bar, at a sports ball game, between your friends and family. You've seen that kind of communication, right? So how do we learn that? Where do we learn how to communicate without using words? For many of us, we learn from our family. You learn from a very young age what behaviors will get you a happy and loving response, and you also learn what kind of behaviors won't, and you'll get a negative, angry response from them. And so we grow up with those notions of communication, and they have a tendency to dictate how we talk to our friends and our coworkers and our partners, and we don't really even know that we're doing it. We've just grown up doing it. And the tragedy of the whole thing is most of us have learned different dialects for communicating in nonverbal ways and communicating our emotions. So what does this mean? It means that we show happiness and sadness and anger and whatever in different ways, using not always words, to communicate them. So this can be especially tricky in relationships. You need to learn to speak your partner's language so that they understand how you feel about them, right? You want to effectively communicate, and if they communicate in a whole different way than you do, then sometimes you're not being heard or understood. So Gary Chapman wrote an entire book on this. It's called The 5 Love Languages. You may have heard of it. It's phenomenal. And in it, he identifies 5 different ways that people most frequently express their love for each other. Physical contact, acts of service, quality time, receiving gifts, and words of affirmation. So that's 5 different ways, each with their own subgenres of dialects on how to talk to each other. So if you're trying to talk to your partner through physical affection, and you're trying to show love through hugs and hand holding and massages and all those wonderful things, but your partner doesn't really speak physical affection, if they speak quality time, then they might not really get what you're trying to tell them. So does that mean that all of your well-intended efforts are just going down the drain because your partner doesn't get it? Not really, probably not, no. But it does mean that a pretty hefty percentage of them are not being understood to the full depth that you want them to be. So in the next few videos, I am going to go through each of the languages individually and just give you a brief overview of them and help you kind of identify whether that's your language or your partner's language and how to communicate love most effectively through those. So hopefully you can learn a new language in a fun way and learn how to express your feelings for your honey a little bit better. So stay tuned, and thanks for joining me today.